Hey folks, and welcome to my new podcast series where I'll be interviewing various industry professionals and creatives who I've crossed paths with and worked with over the last sort of 15 years or so. So thanks for being on this first episode, man. This is quite a special episode actually, because obviously we go way back where we were making films when we were like, 11, 12 years old, to be honest. So it's a pleasure to have you on the first episode. And it just so happens that you've been in the industry for about 15 years or so as well. So you've directed a feature film for Amazon, you've made various music videos, acted in various music videos, and obviously you own the studio that we're filming in today, Crixus Studios. So thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very privileged to be here as well, especially on your first episode. Looking forward to this.
Why did you start getting involved in filmmaking, and when did you start becoming a filmmaker?
When we were both very young, obviously, when we were like early teenage, maybe younger, we started making films together, little silly videos and stories and such. I always had the desire to be some kind of storyteller. My mum was very, very strict growing up. So strict, you remember, I don't have to tell you, but everyone else listening. Like she wouldn't let me watch many films. She certainly wouldn't let me watch a film that was classified above my age at that time.
Hard times.
Yeah, hard times. And I think that restriction actually really aided my love for it, kind of thing. So when I did see it, when I came around your house or something to watch a film, watch Hellraiser or something, you'd be like, oh my god, this is incredible, to get to actually. And horror is my favourite genre, and that might be to watch at least, and I think that might be one of the main reasons. Obviously you and your film camera made a big, and a video camera.
Yeah, well it wasn't even my camera, it was just an old camera that my nan had, who had basically just given it to my mum, and my mum just left it there, and I was like, Mum, this is a TV camera, and actually I used it to film You've Been Framed things, because I really wanted to get like £250 because I would have been rich like 8 years old, and then we just started shooting whatever we wanted, right? Just anything.
I remember the You've Been Framed things we would film, and they're all staged, obviously.
Of course,
trying to get 250 quid.
Trying to get a successful You've Been Framed into the competition was like a festival for us at the time. And every time we got a rejection, it was like, oh, I got another rejection slip from the festival. They must have just seen that the same fucking address is sending the same. They've tried again with their antics, for fuck's sake. Like one time I was holding a bit of chicken or something and I had a basket open and the cat was jumping, and I wanted the cat to jump in the basket, and finally it happened. I was like, yes, they're gonna think this is brilliant. And obviously they reject it because it's a piece of shit.
Probably obvious as well, because every little stunt starts just as the stunt starts, and
exactly.
Well, why is you
it's totally set up.
There's no back in it.
So you watched loads of films then and you used the camera, but when did you actually decide that you wanted to become a filmmaker?
Where we were brought up, being a filmmaker was a million miles away from. It was just, I think, what you could call that sort of place is like lack of inspiration. There's you couldn't believe in being anything except for maybe a bricklayer or if not on the dole. So it didn't really enter my consciousness, even when we were actually making films. We were 14, 15, 16, I'd say, when we started making, or you started making Escaping Hastings, which was a feature film starring me and you, standard. Yeah.
It actually had a huge cast. Nowadays, to get that many kids fighting in the middle of an estate or something would be a pretty difficult thing to organise. Whereas then it was you just call up your mates and be like, listen guys, we're having a riot scene.
What? Wait a minute. What? What do you do? No!
I ran out of people to film that day because everyone wanted to get involved in the fighting.
And I think was it even? I think that might have been in the middle of a school day as well.
It was.
Well, let's go down and film this big riot scene, and was like, yeah, right. And it's someone nicked someone's phone, and then they came together, and then suddenly there was an ambush, and then someone was on a ped. That was your story that we were kind of making up as we went along.
That film, even the title itself, was all inspired by the place. Hastings, which is where it was a town that like you said, most people didn't aspire to do anything outside of that town. So that's why the film's called Escaping Hastings, because it was like breaking away from the stereotype of, oh, I have to just be here for the rest of my life. We filmed anything going on at the time. Usually there would be people fighting.
Yeah, because that's what life was like at that age.
Exactly.
Really tense, because you didn't know when you might get filled in, beaten up. And like, even when we were doing all of that, it didn't enter my head to be a filmmaker. It still didn't, even though that's what we were, we were filmmakers.
Yeah, or actor.
Either, yeah, same. Our school didn't have any kind of sixth form or anything like that, so we went to another school's sixth form, because we both did media studies at that school, Grove and Filsham, and it was had like Apple Macs in the classroom. Like, what the hell is going on here? Couldn't believe our eyes. This is insane. And then when the teacher showed us that we could actually edit digitally on a computer, we're like, even though, honestly, it sounds like we're 50, 60 years old in this podcast, probably. We're actually not at all. We're not just...
No, we're just poor.
But yeah, just poor. Yeah, just well poor. We were editing just within, not even on VHS recorders or anything. We were just doing it in camera, fast forwarding, rewinding to the right point, and then pressing record again, and then filming the next. So we had to do it chronologically, otherwise it was impossible.
Yeah. I remember when the teacher at the college said to us, but how are you putting music on your films? Because when I watched it, there was music on there and there was filters on there. And I said to him, no, we just record the TV with a CD player in the background. It was literally a CD player as well. It wasn't like a speaker system. I put the headphones of the CD player on top of the video camera that's recording the TV, and then it can listen to the music of this while picking up the recording of that. And the filter was just the fact that it had been recorded so many times. On the TV, exactly. And I remember him and the whole class were just looking at us like we were just fucking crazy,
idiots.
Poor idiots.
I remember him just thinking like, oh my God.
I think Ed was the only person, one other student in the class, who had an idea on how to use them, because we had no idea how to use the program, which was like...
it was iMovie.
iMovie. And so he taught us how to use iMovie, basically.
That's right, and Ed was a good person to meet on that. And I remember, like, Ed, who's still your friend now, right, does a lot of your music composition and stuff.
Probably get him on for a podcast at some point.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. We made Brass, which won some awards, I think, and that was similar kind of vein. I mean, every film we were making around that sort of period was similar. It's like, right, some gangsters come down, problem occurs, someone gets knocked out is pretty much the punchline. And so
every time be like, well, what's the punchline, Joe? Someone gets knocked out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember we entered it into for our kind of main part of our course. He started to go through the films, and he was like, okay, so this film is this film has got this, and then went all the way up to our film, and he was like, this film is excellent. And I couldn't believe it. It's like, what the hell? He's like, that's the first compliment I think I've got from a teacher. So
especially him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Would you say it's worth doing a degree to become a filmmaker, or do you think that's redundant now, having been to uni? And
things are more accessible. Filmmaking is really accessible now. You can make some seriously good films with next to no equipment, and I think it's worth it for some people. For me, it was absolutely necessary. I needed the inspiration, I needed the 3 years as well. I couldn't have the luxury of being able to kind of hold down another job and try and do filmmaking on the side. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. I needed to be able to concentrate on filmmaking exclusively. If you're trying to get into camera, makeup, editing, anything, I would say if you know what you want already, go straight into the industry, go into one of the entry level roles as a runner, do free work, do everything that we did, but after 3 years of uni. I think you have to be able to do that, you need to know what you want as well a bit more. And even now, I still don't know what I want. I've directed feature films, I've been an actor. I say my main role now is creative producer. Like, that's the role I do most, but it's certainly not exclusive. So for someone like me, probably university is well worth it. I think you're similar to me in some respects.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I didn't go to university to want to be a writer, director, or whatever. I just wanted to see what I might be good at, because we had done all this stuff, and I wanted to know if it was worth pursuing one of them. But after the second year of a broadcast media degree, I realised that directing was probably the thing I would be best at. And also, having done a master's in directing, I think the key is meeting people who are like you, who are trying to get to the same place you are, because it builds this like community that you wouldn't get if you just went into the industry. I mean, I don't know, maybe if you went into the industry and became a runner, there'd be loads of other runners and they all become friends with you and you can all make feature films. But my feeling was that you're only going to find those like kind of humble individuals who are all willing to learn with you in a space like university for 3 years, where you can actually build friendships. And sometimes those people that you meet are people that you work with forever after that. So you started a feature film, and is that the one that you eventually sold to Amazon?
Yeah, I wanted to make this feature film, and I had this feature film in my head for pretty much for like most of my life, I think. And so I spent the summer between second and third year writing this feature film about this lead singer from a rock band in South London. And I wrote it in Croatia, actually, just kind of spent time over there. And then, came back, and I got the same team I've been working with all the way through uni. We started it together, and we filmed the majority of it while we were still at university.
So I made a feature film in uni, but one of the most difficult things for us, and one of the reasons no one's ever seen it really, is because we couldn't find someone to buy it. So how did you go from making a feature film at uni, how did you get it from that to getting it on Amazon?
Well, our producer Amelia, who went to uni, was so incredible at getting, like, I gave her like a wish list of who I in an ideal world would want to cast in some of these roles, and she got a load of them, which is just incredible. David Spinks, who was I wanted as the dad character, he was from EastEnders. She managed to get him for free.
Listen, son, you don't have a spare tenner I could borrow, do you?
Yeah, Ewan McIntosh, who we knew from The Office.
No.
I really wanted him as well, and she managed to get him, and she managed to get a bunch of... so that helped, I think, with the selling process somewhat, at least in England. Of course, I really wanted you to edit it because I knew that you understood my sense of humour, my comedy, the point of view was where I was coming from, because we grew up together, and we'd done so much filmmaking when we were growing up.
I remember that particular moment was when we finally sort of crossed paths again after like 6-7 years.
Yeah. We got another producer on, Ian Beaumont, and he spent a long time getting it sold, basically. He went to several trade shows and festivals and stuff, talking to people.
You put a lot of work into that.
Yeah. It got there, and then after a certain amount of time, Ian got it sold. It's on Amazon now, so you have some free time, listeners.
Yeah, totally. Anyone who's listening to this who wants to see what we're talking about, it's South of the River on Amazon Prime. Watch it before it gets taken off. What would you say you've learned, or what 3 points could you give other filmmakers who are making their feature film?
If we're talking about low budget feature film, we're talking about ones that you're going to try and fund either yourself or with a low budget. Write something achievable. I wrote mine around the council estates around South London and a few venues, but I made sure that they were only ever in one location so that I could really minimise the days. And I think 2 is just planning what you're going to do somewhat. Just have an idea of like, how are you going to film all of it, and have a few contingency plans. Being adaptable while you're moving forward. If you need to change scenes, if you need to change to make things work, just as long as the film isn't compromised, just get that story told. I was quite inspired by Shane Meadows at the time, and he was doing lots of work at that point where they didn't hardly have any script whatsoever. They're just turning up at locations, and they didn't, and just ad-libbing bits and seeing if they can slot it into a story. And they made Dead Man's Shoes similar to that, and that was. And
it's how you get those moments when that you can't even explain to someone how it was done, because they got a couple of actors together, they went to a location and they had a rough idea on what they wanted. It's a bit like Mike Leigh as well, like just maybe they've done one rehearsal and then they went, let's just do this on location or something like that.
I think that does make a big difference to social realism.
Having a creative lifestyle, I think sometimes people think that I mean like, oh, you're always at home with a canvas and you're doing some painting and then you're doing some editing, and it's like, no. Like, creative organization is a different type of pressure. Yeah. How do you navigate your lifestyle and still earn money and still be creative? And you're a father now. Like, how do you sort of balance it out with everything else? You know?
That's a good question. It's very, very difficult is the answer, and I don't do it perfectly. I don't think anyone does. No. The balance is so hard, and I'm not doing enough creatively right now. I know that for sure. When I was a father, actually, when I first became a father, I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a whole year, 12 months off of having to be creative. But I'm going to take projects that are on merits of ease and finance rather than creativity, which I've never done before. The creative pressure is real. You know, it's really high. You have it 24 hours a day. It's like being addicted to drugs or something. It's sort of like you got this feeling going, oh, you know, I need that thing, or I'm not doing that thing, and you know, and it's and every day you're not doing that thing, you feel like you're constantly failing yourself. Exactly, yeah. So I gave myself 12 months off of that feeling, you know, which was like, right, no matter what, that's I have, and it's, you know, I'm not going to do it or feel bad for 12 months, and it was a real nice 12 months. But yeah, you can't do it forever. You have to go back. So I'm going back now. I'm finishing my second script. So it's not easy, but it's I just do what I can, you know, and I've got no real answers on that. How has having a child actually changed you as a person, would you say? It's made me a much happier person, I would say. Reggie is such a happy kid, both me and his mum. I wouldn't say we're both extroverts and like really happy-go-lucky. That's what he seems to be, you know, like he's like the life of the party and everything. Like, so I think he's forced me to be a bit more, come out of my shell a little bit more. I have to for his sake. And so yeah, you don't want to be one of those dads who are just like, come on, we're going home now. Yeah, exactly. I'll stop doing that. Like, come on. Oh. Is that your dad over there? He was a bit weird. Yeah, exactly. Everyone had parents like that. Yeah. Good timing as well, because it was just as lockdown happened and whatnot. So it was like, you know, couldn't actually go out anyway. So, you know, just had to... It's perfect, really. It's exactly the same for me. Like, more or less the same thing. Although, even though she's laughing and always in hysterics at home, whenever she sees anyone else, she looks like the most stoic, sad child, and I'm like, she's not like this at home. Whenever I see Reggie, it's the opposite. He's on the outside anyway, he's always happy and like willing, like, you know, happy to wave and stuff. But what is it you guys call her, the Duchess? I think that's what my girlfriend calls her. Yeah, the Duchess. That's really apt. So every time I see her anyway, she's kind of looks extremely confident. And completely like she knows everything is going on around her. It's been around for a long time, looks down on everything. And she waves like this. We are running out of time, and I've got so many more questions I want to ask you, but obviously maybe on another episode I can have you back and I can ask those questions. But for now, thanks so much for spending the time to be here, man, and maybe you'll come back at some point in the future. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this show. Yeah, it's been good. It's been great. Of course I'd love to come back. I hope some of those stories weren't too boring. And it's crazy how you ask one question and then you have a whole list of questions, but because one goes, you know, you go on a tangent so much with the one that you look back and you're like, oh fuck, I've only asked one of, you know, 20 questions or whatever. We definitely should, you know, part 2 or something. That sounds good. In the future. Okay, thanks guys. Have a good night.